a tropical paradise along the equatorial belt, comprising an astounding string of 17,000 plus islands, bounded by 2 oceans, home to abundant sea life. Indonesia is the epicenter of marine biodiversity. Professional dive operators providing international standard gear and services, supported by a highly experienced dive staff. Endless underwater gems waiting to be discovered. Boasting hundreds of stunning dive sites, catering to divers of all levels. Dive breathtaking drop-offs and explore old shipwrecks and countless variety of macro life. Comfortable and friendly dive resorts and liveaboards. For exciting diving in various parts of Indonesia. An underwater sanctuary for some of the most remarkable creatures. An extraordinary display of marine life amongst our renowned national marine parks. However, vast areas are yet to be explored by divers. The heart of the world's Coral Triangle Center, home to over 1/4 of the world's marine life. With more than 600 species of coral and over 3,000 fish species. A spectacular aquatic biosphere. Unlimited underwater adventure. Diving beyond imagination. Wonderful Indonesia.
A united journey isn't just about miles traveled, but milestones reached. That turns window seats into breathtaking views. Where sharing smiles, experiences, and connections transcend language and culture. You realize you're not traveling to get away, but to get closer to yourself. Because it is travel that helps us discover that we are all more alike than we are different. And that this journey is just beginning.
Sick.
Connecting people, uniting the world.
I woke up below the surface, where I learned to face my fears and go with the flow. But it's when I came to appreciate the big and the small, made new friends from all over, and could no longer hide my true colors, that I knew I'd emerged a local.
Makalibay, no?
Hello, my dear friends. It's been a while since your last visit, but I want you to know I'm here. Here for you now and in better days ahead. Things may have slowed in your world, but it's anything but slow here. My reefs teem with colorful fish. Schooling hammerheads circle the deep. Playful dolphins roam the shallows. And gentle waves whisper, "Come back to me." I know you're spending hours dreaming of my underwater forest, of my soaring eagle rays, of my wise giant leatherback turtles, of my playful and friendly lions, of the stars that shine below, and the serenading humpback singing. And just as you are resetting, so am I. Everything is more vivid, more plentiful, brighter. I'll continue to surprise you more than ever before. We're always connecting, you and I. In me, you seek solace. And I promise to heal you and delight you. My creatures are calling. A new adventure is waiting. I'll see you soon.
He can sense his spirit ebb like a feather taking
Our island is a gift that we have shared with the world. But in the stillness of today, our island is asking everyone to give us a moment. To be with our family, Ifamagonte, our children, our grandchildren, Itanota, our land, our thoughts, to be creative. Fanhongi, to have faith. To be with the things we know and the things you've come to love. Give us a moment, and we will share one together soon.
Butterflies are under my skin. I can feel the wings trembling. They will save me from falling. Waves are bringing me back to the land. 100 hands are around me, but they will save me from falling. See the falling.
Love the ocean, protect the ocean. Ocean Positive. Swimwear made from lost or abandoned fishing nets, recycled from the sea.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to ADEX Pixel Expo live webinar. I'm Alphonse, and with me today is my colleague Jasmine. Hi, Jess.
Hi.
Right, Jess, I know that you are an advanced open water diver, and recently you have just taken up your nitrox course, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other courses you would like to take?
Okay, so before the pandemic, I actually thought maybe this year I could take the rescue diver course, right? But clearly I can't do that now. But I think it's really great that a lot of schools are actually offering various online courses, and they really seem very interesting. And of course, that means that the diving training doesn't have to stop right here, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that is right. And today we have James Costello from RAID to share with us more about e-learning and how to advance your diving education during this pandemic, right?
So to share a little bit more about James, James actually moved from to Singapore from the UK in 2002, and he actually entered the local dive industry a few years later as a part-time instructor. In 2018, James actually resigned from his corporate job to work full-time in the diving industry. So this allows him to focus a lot more on developing RAID in Singapore, Malaysia, and Brunei, and of course to grow diving solutions digitally. So yeah, James, take it away.
Okay, thank you very
Welcome,
much.
James.
Hi, everybody. So I'd like to give a bit of a presentation on what I call the evolution or the revolution for online training, which is becoming the norm we're forced into. So let me share my slides and we make a start. So thank you all very much for joining and welcome to my presentation. Okay,
James, we can see your presentation on the screen already.
Yep, but it's not working. My presentation is not playing.
Oh.
I cannot go through my slides.
Oh yeah,
it's fine.
it did.
There you go. Okay, seems to be very slow. Okay, so a quick introduction of myself, as Jasmine said. So I'm the director of RAID SMB for Singapore, Malaysia, Brunei, and the local RAID examiner. So I've been in Singapore nearly 20 years, as Jasmine said, and I've been involved in the diving industry for about 16, 17 years now. So, okay, we're having some technical problems here with the slideshow. It doesn't seem to want. Okay, there we go, that's better. So I think it's something that everybody will agree that our world has changed over the last few months only, with social distancing, our working from home, having takeaway meals, everything else. We've been forced into that. And personally, I think it's probably something where we're not going to return back to the normal before. This is good. In some ways, this can be good. Working from home, I think everybody agrees, is kind of a nice luxury to have. Some of the bad is that we don't get to go out and eat in restaurants anymore. So, but you know, life is a compromise. So, it's something we've been forced into. We've accepted it, and we have to learn to move on, which we have. So, who has a smartphone? I think everybody will agree that most people do. And who uses to surf the internet? Well, going on my slides again. So from studies, 78% of Singaporeans actually use their mobile phone for accessing the internet. Who has a PC to surf the internet? Again, studies show actually 97% of Singaporeans are using PCs to access, or have PCs to access the internet. Compare that to who reads books. Only 19% of people read books. Studies from Singapore statistics in the last few years. So there's a huge difference between who's using online and who's using paper. So the simple question is, why are we still using books to teach. So our world has become online. Okay, we have everything. News, movies, music, software, even our friends and family now are all online. We have no choice. And it's something that we've accepted. We still don't really have diving education online, not to the level and degree that we could do. So a few more questions. Have you ever had to fill in application forms and post it out for your diving certifications, or in that, for that matter, any other certification? Okay, you have to actually use a pen and paper, put a stamp, post it. Okay, do you have to wait for your sea cards to arrive, which can take days, week, or weeks? And when the card does arrive, put a photo on it. In 2 years' time, 3 years' time, maybe that photo doesn't even look like you anymore. Were you given manuals when you took up your diving course that you read maybe for a day or two, do your class, you throw them away, they get damaged, they get lost, and in some cases, the manual may even be many years out of date. They were written in 5, 10 years ago. The knowledge inside is old. It's not new. So, simple question is, why aren't we learning online? These are not good things these are things that become wasteful for us. They cost you as a time and money. They give the diving industry a bad image. We try to encourage saving the environment, saving the planet, but we use plastics, we use paper, where they could all be done online. So how about your C card? So they take time to produce and deliver. They use plastics and inks, which is bad for the environment. They very frequently get lost and you need replacements, and they become outdated. You may change your name when you're married and your card is not valid. You age, the photograph on your card doesn't show an accurate representation of what you look like. So the same question, why are we still dealing with plastic cards in the diving industry when we should be moving on? Okay. Wall certificate. You'll often receive a printed wall certificate when you get your diving certification. Again, they take time to produce, time to deliver. Paper and inks are bad for the environment. We're killing trees. And again, they're frequently lost or damaged, or in a lot of cases, just ignore them altogether. Do you even know where your certificate is from your open waters course? Many people don't. So the only use they really have maybe is for some professionals, where they maybe put them on the wall in their dive shop to advertise their training. But again, the simple question, why are we still issuing them to everybody? It should be selected. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of online training. So e-learning helps you remember more. These are real statistics, right? So you remember more from only 8 to 10% in a real class, in a physical world class, to 25 to 60% in an online environment. So that's a huge increase in the amount you remember after your course. And also studies have shown that you spend much less time learning in an e-learning environment compared to a physical class. You save 40 to 60% of the time. That's a huge saving for everybody, and yeah, time is money for everybody, right? It's not something to be overlooked. Another benefit, e-learning tends to mean that you learn more. Studies have shown you learn up to 5 times more information when you do an e-learning course over doing a physical classroom course. And studies from Britain's Open University show that there's huge savings in energy and less carbon dioxide produced. So e-learning courses are good for the environment. They're reducing waste. They're reducing in the classroom water usage, etc. They're saving you money on classroom rental, etc. So there's huge benefits for both the organizer for online training, e-learning, and also for the students. So it should be something that everybody is embracing, not running away from. So let's just ask, what does this really all mean? Everybody's talked about the new normal, and we have to accept we are living in a new normal, or we're moving towards a new normal. So we have no choice. But it means we need to be able to adapt fast to changes, to new things. We need to learn to think creatively, and we need to go outside of our comfort zone on things. Now, when I talk about we, I mean dive centers, diving instructors or educators, and also students. It's everybody. This is not a revolution that is one-sided. Everybody needs to play their part and embrace it for us to be able to improve and get better and make an impact. Okay, so simply welcome to the RAID way. This is the way RAID likes to operate, and we run our teaching. So for those that may be less familiar with RAID, here's a quick recap. RAID is a global diving agency. We're a member of the Recreational Scuba Training Council, which manages all major dive agencies in the world. We're a founding member of the Rebreather Training Council, and many of our courses are also ISO certified. So we're a major player in the diving industry. So what do we have covered for RAID? RAID covers you for just about any kind of underwater sport that you may want to do. Open circuit, which is your regular scuba diving. We have beginner courses from open water all the way up to instructor and instructor trainer. Closed circuit courses, rebreather. Here we have you covered from beginner level all the way up to instructor and instructor trainer level. And free diving, breath hold diving, the same. We go from basic level all the way up to instructor trainer level. So RAID is a full service agency. We have every course that you need. Now, let's talk a little bit about how things work. As we've said in previous slides, some of the problems with existing systems or methods of training. So all RAID courses, course materials are available online. And as of a few months ago, now everything is available online for free previews. So that means anybody can go and look and study any RAID course without having to make payment. They don't like the course, they can go away. They like the course, they can continue. So because RAID courses are electronic and online, they're regularly updated. So they always contain the latest diving knowledge, industry knowledge, safety practices, everything. We have over 120 courses available in this format. So our certifications are processed purely by the dive center. So what that means is there is no delay in you getting your C card. Finish your course, your dive center can sign you off and your C card is issued immediately. There is no delay. Okay. We have a 3-point quality control system that ensures the instructors, the dive centers, the students, everybody is playing their part and the training is effective and complete as it should be. Allowing dive centers to do all of the certification obviously makes it very timely. You get your C cards very, very quick, or your E cards rather, and it means that you're a happy student. So our E cards that are issued to you when you are, once you are certified, they are live. What that means is, should you change your look, dye your hair, need glasses, etc., you could upload a new photograph into your profile and it updates all of your cards instantly with your new photograph. So your e-cards will always look like you. They will never look like a 20-year-old or 20-year younger version of you. Okay, so it gives much better identification. You change your name, we can change the name in the system for you. So again, if you get married, we can take care of that and it's reflected on all of your cards. So they are always correct. Now, when you are certified, you will receive an email, your e-card in an email. It pops up and appears in the RAID app if you're using it, and it also appears in the RAID online profile. So you have 3 different locations where your card is available immediately. So this is what we call free learning, as I mentioned earlier. So this allows anybody in the world, you don't have to be a diver, you don't have to be a RAID student previously, anybody can go and see and read and learn about any RAID course, just simply by registering a profile on the RAID website. Okay. There is no obligation, there is no sales, no nothing. It's for you to go and look. If you decide that you like the course, as I said, you can continue and contact the dive center and take up the course. We're the only agency in the world that has opened up its entire catalog to everybody. So it doesn't matter whether you're from PADI, SSI, TDI, anybody, you can come into RAID and you can review our courses and see what you think of them. So here's a simple thing. It's a point. We have to embrace the 21st century. We can't go back in time. Okay, so let's look at the new training ways. Okay, we study our academic materials on any device. Okay, the RAID system allows you to access them on a mobile, on a browser, anywhere. So there is no problem with being able to see it. And the materials are downloaded to you. You have them physically on your device. You can read them as many times as you want, and you have access to them forever. It never expires. Okay, we now allow, with the move to the social distancing and video call familiarity, we now teach by video call as well. So our instructors are running classes across video calls with their students, etc. So you can join a video call to learn and discuss more with your instructor about your class, your course, ask questions, etc. So we then have something which we call remote training. So for selected courses, that even allows you to become fully certified for the course without going anywhere. So for example, nitrox diver, ecological diver, equipment, or core rebreather knowledge, the courses can be completed with you by the instructor with you at home. You never need to physically meet, signed off and certified. So for other courses that do require training, maybe rescue diver, as Jasmine said she's interested in, then we would take the opportunity to conduct further video calls with your instructor to prepare you for pool training classes and for open sea dives. You can discuss your skills required, you can equipment requirements, any fears or apprehensions you may have with doing the class, with attending the class. And obviously all this would be in preparation of things being scheduled for when the world opens up again. So this gives us remote training. How it's a way to be certified from home. You never have to leave your apartment, your house, your school. You get a diving certification there and then on the spot on selected courses. So let's move on to some tips. Let me share with you some tips on online training, online learning, how to get the most out of it. So first off, let's talk about the video classes. And these tips are designed for everybody. Okay? These are designed for hosts, instructors, and also the students watching them. So I'm trying to give some tips to everybody. Okay? And let's call them video classes, because that's what they are. We need to understand that when we attend online training through a video, it is actually like a real class. It's not a casual video call with friends where you can go off and chat and this kind of thing. You know, it's time for you in the class where you do really need to focus on what your instructor is going through with you. So, first off, this is for the hosts. So you need to consider what platform you're going to use. you cannot use something that is operating system specific, so it's easy for everybody to join. So that means, for example, it's not a good idea to use an app like FaceTime, because it would mean only people with Apple products can join. There are free platforms, and obviously some of the most popular are Zoom, as we're using now. Skype also is quite popular, and these are common for everybody. Don't try to make your students have to download and register with multiple apps to do your class. Try to use common platforms that they already use. And maybe that's something you should ask your students when they sign up, as which platforms they're familiar to use or prefer to use with you for class. So, as we can see, having a video class with students is very easy. Right? Video class makes discussing a topics in groups much easier than typing. Typing is not a great way to communicate in a live environment. It's very difficult to ask questions backwards and forwards. Sometimes it's difficult to explain topics, and often you get misunderstandings. So talking from a face-to-face point of view is much better. Avoid those misunderstandings, able to explain the topics in proper detail that people can understand. Okay? It's also good to be able to see the people you're talking to. This is natural for humans, right? Before last year, we were used to talking to each other face to face. Talking to someone without seeing their face can be a little bit off-putting. We're used to seeing people and looking at the body language when we communicate. So video conferencing allows that to happen. It makes it a slightly more normal way to communicate. And it's a great way to start that connection between you and your other members of the group, or with your instructor, to get to know each other a bit in person before you physically meet for the course. So next, some of the things, and this slide goes out more to the hosts. Try to use good etiquette for slides. When you're doing presentations, try to make them a little bit more interesting. Don't add too many words. Make it easy on the eyes. Make it easy for the students to engage and keep interested. Okay? Slides with a lot of words become very difficult to see, difficult to understand, and people lose their interest very quickly. So pictures, videos, these all make a difference, and often they help to explain concepts much better than just a long list of words. So another thing is, ask your instructor, if he's not already doing it, to record the class. This is a good thing because it means later on the class can be shared to the students. They can review it later on and that kind of thing. So for the students, if you're not sure if your instructor is recording, simply ask him to, if not, record it and share with you later. So lighting, this is important. We always want to have a good looking image. The image quality is very poor when there's bad lighting. Okay? Webcams are generally not very good in low light conditions, and the picture kind of comes pixelated and blurry and out of focus, which is not nice to look at. It also affects the communication because, again, we're used to looking at facial expressions. It's human nature. When you can't see someone's face, it's out of focus. It affects our communication. It affects how we understand people's reactions to what we're saying, whether they're confused or whether they're paying attention. So some simple diffused light near the camera facing your face gives you a much brighter look, much more focused image, much better quality. Okay. As everybody knows, there's lots of backgrounds that you can add onto your Zoom calls, but be careful. We want to add a background that makes it easy to see. If there's a screen with 10 different faces on it, everybody's got these very, very busy, fancy backgrounds, it's hard to see someone's face and pick it out, especially if you're kind of looking across your students to see if anybody's paying attention or to see if anybody's kind of getting confused or distracted. So try to keep the backgrounds clean and simple, nothing too fussy. The same way of putting a video background, sometimes it can become distracting. So just consider what you're using behind yourself in your meetings. Now, eye contact. Eye contact is something simple. We all do it all the time when we're normally talking. So when we're talking through a camera, it's the same. We should look into the camera to talk. Looking away kind of gives an impression that someone is not paying attention to and is not talking to you. So don't kind of look off to the side when you're talking, because it is a very, very bad impression. The eye contact part, if you're watching someone, you see them looking towards you, it kind of makes you want to pay attention, okay? So this should be a little bit obvious, but do remember, avoid personal behavior. You might feel alone, but obviously you're not. You're being watched by many, many people. So don't go and do embarrassing things like picking your nose, scratching your armpits, things like that. You're in public, whether you realize it or not. So here's an interesting tip for those hosts or anybody that generates content, that with Zoom you can actually use it to record your own presentation and share later on. So quite simply, the way to do this is, if you open a Zoom meeting and don't invite anybody else, just have yourself, it will still allow you to run the meeting. You can share your screen, open up your slides, run through your presentation, talk over it, and using the record function, it's all recorded into a video file on your PC. So you can use this for creating small content presentations for yourself to maybe share onto Facebook or YouTube, that kind of thing. So for instructors, this can be a good way just to be able to put a few slides up maybe and advertise themselves and market themselves, or to explain principles and, you know, to get more followers. So not directly related to e-learning, but a cool trick to know how to do. So while we're talking about recordings, it's useful. If your instructor makes the recording of the class and shares with you, then keep it, save it as a library. Make yourself a list of a library of all the courses that you've attended. You can use that to refresh yourself later when you've forgotten some of the things that you've learned in your class. Just think, this is something that's absolutely impossible in the physical world, to go back and relive a class that you have already attended. It's one of the added benefits of doing e-learning. So make use of it, keep them. Humans' memories are generally pretty bad. We always kind of mix things up. So being able to go back and relive the moment of everything that happened is useful. Next, let's talk a little bit about the audio. So sometimes it can be a good idea to use earbuds or a headset, particularly if your microphone is a long way away from where you're sitting, or it picks up a lot of external noise, or you just don't want others to hear what the meeting is about. It's important when we're having a call or a class that we are heard clearly, and it's important that others can hear us clearly. External noises can become distracting and can sometimes cause statements to be misheard and misunderstood. So try to make sure that you minimize any external sound. Now, this obviously is an obvious tip for everybody. Mute your mic when you're not. So a couple of tips here, if you didn't know, for those students watching, you can do Alt-A to mute or unmute yourself. Hosts, instructors, if you do Alt-M, it actually mutes everybody on the call except you. So you don't get unnecessary background noise for those that refuse to mute their calls. So here's a few random things that kind of need to be added in, and some should be a little bit obvious, but hydration is an important thing. Sitting in front of a screen for any period of time, you become dehydrated. So remember to always have some water nearby and drink during your class. Dehydration can affect your. For hosts, for instructors running classes, if your class you're planning is long, then plan toilet breaks. The urge for someone to want to go to the toilet will obviously affect their focus and concentration in their class. And if they just get up and walk away part through, it obviously breaks the flow and they lose important information. So plan breaks around how you present so people get an opportunity to stop for a few minutes, go to the toilet, come back without missing any important information. So also, when it comes to the end of the call, sometimes it can be good to hang around. Don't just immediately hang up. You'll sometimes find that random conversations break out at the end, and these could be interesting and relevant to you. So it can be worth hanging around just for an extra 30 seconds or so once everything is finished, just to see, is everybody going, or is there another conversation going to start? But to stay for those extra few seconds. Now, finally, let's remember something. These are real classes. We are learning through our video calls, our video class. Okay, so let's try to limit distractions. Turn off your notifications on your phone. Keep your notifications on your PC out of the way. You should be focusing. You are attending a class. Treat it just like going and attending a real physical class. Avoid being tempted to multitask. Watching the your video class and playing with your phone in the other hand, checking your Facebook, etc. You're losing focus in your class. You're losing information. You're not gaining the most you can out of it. So now I'm going to share a few tips on reading the manuals. Of course, there's always going to be some academic training in all courses. So here's some tips that can help you deal with that. So if you find, like me, I'm happy to admit I'm one of these. I'm a bit of a slow reader and sometimes can become distracted. So here's a useful tip. You are able to use, if you use Adobe PDF Reader, you're actually able to get it to read the document aloud to you. It works great with a pair of headphones, and it reads to you and you can scan it to the document together. Having the document read to you can help you remember more. It can help you with pronunciation of some of the words, and it may even be faster this way than reading it yourself. So to do it is very simple. On any version of Adobe Reader, on any device, you simply click on View, and at the bottom you'll see an item Read Out Loud, and then you just go over to either read this page or read to the end of the document, and it will start reading the document to you. Okay, it's another benefit that we only get with e-learning, to have something read to us in our own time. So here's another thing, another item that comes up quite often. We come across words that in manuals that we find confusing, or we don't understand, or we're not sure what the meaning is of. So if you just simply hop over to a browser and go to Google and type in Google Dictionary, and what will pop up will be a box where you just type in the word, and below the box you'll get an explanation of what those words mean. So understanding terms and meanings is important when we're learning online. Sometimes we don't have the person to stop and ask, what does this mean? So we have to be a little bit self-sufficient. So jumping in, using this allows us to do exactly that. But remember, if you can't find the word, which is possible in Google Dictionary, last resort would be to go and contact your instructor and ask him. So when we're going through our materials, partway through, you'll get some what we call quick quizzes. So it's just a test to see that whether you remember what you've been reading, whether you understand what you've learned. So with the RAID system, all the quick quizzes and even the final exam that you do, you can go back and review all of your old questions. You can see what you got wrong, and you can see what the correct answer was. So this is all part of the learning process, being able to understand where your mistakes were. So in your RAID profile, you just simply need to click on the Do Quiz or Do Exam, and you click on the View, which is circled in red here. And a window will pop up with all of the questions that you were previously asked with your right and wrong answers. Those answers that you got wrong will show the correct answers highlighted. And from that, if you find any confusion, obviously discuss with your instructor why the answer that you gave was wrong and why the correct answer is not what you expected it to be. Now let's talk a little bit about creativity. We mentioned it earlier as something we need to do. So this is talking to everybody, instructors and students. We need to be creative to make new ways for ourselves to learn. And these are not always obvious. So sometimes it needs some effort to think and come up with these kind of ideas. So if you have something, share with your instructor, share with people, talk and discuss. Use this to develop and improve the way the world learns online. Things are not rigid. We know that after our circuit breaker. We have to change, we have to adapt. Okay, so here's an idea of some of the things. Okay, when you're doing a course, look for what apps are available to be used. There's many apps on both the Apple Store and the Google Store that relate to diving. They're dive tables, dive planning, buoyancy, air consumption, nitrox calculators, many different apps. So look to see what apps are applicable to the course you're learning, or ask your instructor what apps he suggests that may be able to help you. That they offer you an opportunity to practice more, learn more, understand subjects a bit more than without them. So one thing, do be careful of some apps. Try to go to apps that are from reputable sources to make sure the information is correct. If you're not sure, again, ask your instructor for some advice on whether what you are being told is correct or what you are learning is correct. Another useful source is videos, online videos, YouTube, Vimeo. There's a lot of online video sources these days. And a lot of people post post videos of doing courses, doing skills, of equipment, of techniques, even trips, expeditions, etc. There's a lot. So go and see what videos there are that relate to your course. For an instructor, maybe you can find videos that help explain topics to your students online much better than explaining them through words. A good example for that would be trying to explain frog kick to somebody, how to do a frog kick. In words, it becomes a very complicated explanation. In a video, it's very easy to see. So the online videos becomes a very good resource for you to use. And again, make sure though that the videos are from reputable sources and the information that you're using is correct. So ask your instructor if you're not sure. So some general e-learning tips when you're reading your materials. Take breaks. Breaks are important. Okay? Taking regular breaks allows you to improve your memory, how much you remember, your knowledge retention. It helps you to focus better, and also it reduces eye strain. Staring at screens is not good for us for long periods of time. So take regular breaks. It's in your own benefit. It will improve the learning experience. Don't force yourself to slog through unnecessarily. And always remember, if you come to something that you don't understand, contact your instructor and ask, discuss. That's what it's for. That's why they are there. Now, we've learned about the new normal. So let's see, what is the nitrox diver class like in the new normal way with RAID? So using the remote training system that we discussed earlier, the RAID nitrox course is fully online. So I do not need to attend a practical class with an instructor, anything. It can all be done from the comfort of your sofa. So how we would start, you would contact your local RAID dive center and express an interest in doing a nitrox course. They would take you through the process of setting up a profile in RAID if you don't already have one. You would log in and off you go, start learning. That's it, we're ready to go, we're in the course. So the academic part of the course, as we've said, online. So what you would get is you'll go through and you would read the manuals, which are downloaded to you in PDF. So you would either get these on your PC, on your mobile device, anything. Everything is able to access them and read. Okay. The Materials are available to you for lifetime access, as I've mentioned previously, but all courses do have to be completed within 6 months. So we would encourage some motivation to complete it soon. So we update our manuals very regularly to meet new industry knowledge and standards. When they're updated, what you have in your profile will also be automatically updated. So the manuals literally are live, okay? So you'll go through and you would read and study your manual. If using read aloud, you would listen to your manual. Next, we come to the quizzes. As I mentioned earlier, partway through some of the manuals, there'll be a quick quiz. So this is just to check that you have some knowledge and understanding with what you've read previously. So it will ask you a couple of multiple choice questions. You get them right, it allows you to move on. If you don't get them right, it will ask you to go back and review the materials again. Simple. When you're finished studying all of the materials, then the final exam is a multiple choice question exam. So 10 questions, 15 questions only on what you've previously read. So on the quick quizzes and also on the final exam, you get instant feedback on whether you pass or fail. If you fail, don't worry, no problem. You can retake the quiz or the exam again and hopefully pass second time. If you do find that you don't pass, then it's another opportunity to sit with your instructor on a voice call or video call to discuss what you got wrong and what maybe your misunderstandings or your shortage in knowledge is, and he can help guide you through the quizzes and the exams a second time. So, as we've mentioned, with the RAID Nitrox course, we can complete this at home. One of the ways we're able to do this is by use of an app. So what we have is it's something called the Nitrox Virtual Analyzer. So what your instructor would ask is for you to download the app onto your phone and or Apple and Google devices are both supported. And they will step you through using the app, which simulates how a real nitrox analyzer works. So you get to play with it in a virtual environment. So when you go on a dive, you pick up an analyzer, it already looks familiar to you. You already understand how you can use it. So here's a video of the real app in action. So as you can see, the person is adjusting the knob. They are calibrating the analyzer before use. They get to look at a few videos of how to connect it. They get to choose what kind of gas to analyze, what nitrox mix. Then they get asked a couple of questions just to check their general knowledge. And the analyzer goes through and basically functions just like a real analyzer would. So this gives you a cool way to get experience with this without actually physically having one in your hand, without having to buy one, without having to go and find a tank of nitrox, without having to visit your dive center. So once your instructor is happy with you, going through the materials and going through with the Nitrox Analyzer app, they're happy with your performance, they would sign you off. There you go. You have your e-card and you are a certified nitrox diver already. It's as simple as that. So the Nitrox Analyzer app plays a very key part in one of our courses here and is a way of our creativity, trying to do something different, standing out, as we've talked about. Once you've got your Nitrox Analyzer, once you've got your Nitrox e-card, so how to see it, you will find you have an email. As soon as your instructor click the certify button, you will have received an email and it will have a copy of your PDF card. Also, if you go into your RAID app, which is called Learn to Scuba app, which is also available on Apple and Google, you will find the card is available on there. The app gives you an advantage of being an offline and online access. So once the card is there, it doesn't matter if you don't have a data connection. You can trundle off to some island or live on board and you can still show everybody your C cards to to be able to dive. Or alternatively, you can access your e-card through the RAID website. So again, you can do this on mobile or desktop, just through any browser. You go to diveraid.com, log into your profile, and all of your e-cards, again, will be there viewable. Obviously, this way, you need to have a live data connection. That is all. So that brings us towards the end of my presentation. And I'd be open to if anybody has any questions.
Hey, James.
Hey.
Franz, you mentioned that you have a question just now available.
Sorry, you're very quiet, Jasmine. Can you speak up?
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so you actually shared a little bit about the process of getting the certifications. I mean, just going on the classes for RAID, right? So I just saw the website. So you guys have everything available on e-learning right now.
Yes.
So, because normally when we go through a dive course, it's okay. I've only done my advanced open water, right? So it was just the book, and then there were a few questions within the book, and we were just and I would be having a conversation with my instructor.
Okay.
So would it be similar to that for online with RAID?
Yes, it's exactly the same. The materials, the academic materials that we have are similar to most other agencies. So you would read through it every section or so, then you'd get a few questions to ask, just like you do in the book, but where it's a paper copy. Ours are online, so you're asked there and then, and you get feedback there and then as to whether you got it right or not. If you didn't, it pushes you back to go and review the materials, so maybe something that you missed. So
okay, so means it'll be an ongoing thing.
Sorry.
Okay, so it'll be no, it's okay. So I'll be having a conversation on Zoom with the instructor, and at the same time, I'll also be having a document which has the questions and all that. Is that it?
Yes, you can do that. You can do the questions yourself. You don't need to do them in the presence of the instructor. You can do them offline. The instructor can see all of the questions that you've answered and all of your answers. So if there's some that you're confused with, you can give him a call and say, hey, look, hey, James, I don't understand this question. You know, number 3, I answered C, but it says the answer is D. We can see what you've answered as well, and we can step you through exactly maybe why you made that mistake, where the misunderstanding comes from in the materials that you've read.
Okay. So what do you think is the limitations of actually having these online classes? I mean, one would be not being able to go out to dive and have the physical experience. Is there any other limitations you think that there are?
Obviously, you lose some of the physical connection with people. You know, we as instructor, student, or friends or whatever, but it's online, but it's still not quite the same as being face-to-face with someone. We lose a bit of that. I think maybe it's something that we'll learn to get used to and learn to adapt to more as time goes by. Some people are not so comfortable talking online, you know, talking into a camera, talking into a screen. So, you know, they become very shy. Whereas in a class, they may be a little bit more confident to stand up and talk. So these are the kind of things that are slowly going to change over time as people get more and more used to it. And like I mentioned, it's something we just have to all learn to go out of our comfort zone. You know, things are not going to be the same. Let's you know, we have to suck it up a little bit and be happy. You know, we'll make the most of what we can.
Definitely.
Have everything if you look at it.
Alphonse, are you saying something? You are on mute. Yeah. Oh dear, I can't hear you.
Alphonse, we cannot hear you. So this is another downside of video conferencing.
Yeah, exactly. You see, there are such problems which will happen. So, yeah. So no, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so perhaps another question. Would you like to share? Let's take this opportunity. Do you have maybe you would like to share a little bit more about RAID as compared to just focusing on the online aspect? Maybe let our audience actually know a little bit more about RAID at the same time.
Okay, sure. So as I mentioned, RAID is a global dive agency, just like all of the big names that you will have heard of, like PADI, SSI, etc. RAID is number 4 in the world in dive agencies, so it may be a bit of a new name to a lot of divers. Been around for a fair while now. RAID was born in its current format back in 2007, 2008. Basically due to a need of or a requirement for online training. Back then there was no everything was really kind of paper-based and very book-based. So, it was, our founders were quite visionary to see a need to have everything online and to work that way. So since the early days, we've now come up with a fairly comprehensive list of, or portfolio of courses that we offer. As I mentioned earlier, we've got over 120 courses available across open circuit, scuba, rebreather, free diving, etc. So for anybody out there that may have done their open water with PADI, it's no problem. You can cross to RAID to do your advanced course or your rescue course. The same with all agencies. All of the courses have equivalents across all of the agencies. So we're all head and shoulders together.
Okay, that's great.
Right. Thanks, James, for sharing with us. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you, yes.
Right. Okay. I do not know what happened to my headphone. Thanks, James, for sharing with us the steps RAID is taking during this pandemic, and it's really great that we can actually have all this done online, especially in the comfort of your home. So it was a pleasure having you with us this evening. Well, before we end this session, Jasmine, what do we have up next?
Okay, so we actually do have another program. On the program, we actually do have another session. We are inviting a few notable underwater macro photographers to share with us about everything macro. And we'll be going live at 6:30 later. So please stay tuned.
Right, thank you very much. Once again, I would like to thank James for sharing with us about the Teaching Online Revolution audience. So stay put and stay tuned and see you at 6:30 for the live macro photography session. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.